Thank you. Great talk. We will continue with Giuseppe Petralia, who will convince us why to use whole body MRI as next generation imaging for staging.
So thank you, very easy task. So my talk is not for the 15 who voted in favor of whole body MRI, for the 85% who said who are against whole body MRI. So here my disclosure. So we all know what next generation imaging is. They are techniques who combine anatomical imaging like MRI, conventional MRI, anatomical MRI with functional imaging, and with MRI we have with diffusion weighted imaging. And when we speak about whole body MRI, we refer to what is published already, the guidelines, the METRAS guidelines published in European Urologists in 2017, which established the criteria for image acquisition, but also interpretation and reporting. And if you stick to the guidelines, to the protocol and the guidelines, you can do in any scanner whole body MRI in about 40 minutes. But welcome today to a new era with AI, because the time of acquisition can be now reduced down to 10 to 15 minutes with AI in the acquisition. And here I present a protocol that we routinely use at our institution. On the left, you see sagittal imaging, 1 minute 45, then axial imaging on T1 Dixon, 1 minute 45 again, and then on the right, you will see diffusion-weighted imaging, which is the core sequence of whole body MRI, in roughly 8 minutes. So our protocol is about 11-25 seconds, so it's very competitive. On top of that, I can tell you that with AI we can do more, because we know that sometimes whole body MRI is difficult for everyone, even for the radiologists, because you have different contrasts. It's not like PET, you just have one contrast. You have T1, T2, diffusion, ADC maps all together. So it's very difficult, too many images. Then we shift from multiple image reading to single image reading. We make fusion thanks to bone segmentation and AI tools. So we can evaluate images on the axial, like you can see on the left, for example, with diffusion-weighted imaging, you see on red colors, on top of fat fraction images. Or if you like the PET-like imaging on the right, you will see on diffusion we segment automatically the bone thanks to AI. You see bright lesions, but if you want to add the specificity, we overlay on top of diffusion imaging the fat fraction images. We color in red what is below 20% in fat fraction, which adds a lot of specificity. So even a kid can tell that the red areas are metastases. So this is what we are running currently at our institution. We are running a multicentric study, 3 centers in Italy, the so-called all-in-one study. The design of this study is very easy. All our patients with unfavorable intermediate and high-risk prostate cancer are staged with conventional imaging. By that I mean, of course, bone scintigraphy and CT. We meet at MDT and we decide the treatment. Then we disclose data on whole body MRI staging, and we meet again at our MDT and we report whether the treatment choice is changed after disclosure of the information of whole body MRI. So far we recruited 152 patients, and here I'm happy to share with you our preliminary data. Overall, the staging between conventional imaging and whole body MRI was concordant in roughly 70% of cases, as expected probably. But interestingly, we saw that an upstaging after whole body MRI in 17% of cases. So it means probably a better sensitivity of whole body MRI, but also better specificity, because we had a downstaging of 11% of cases. And if we compare our data, our figures with just one paper recently published a few months ago, showing that we saw when shifting from conventional imaging to whole body MRI for lymph nodes, for example, if we take a closer look to lymph nodes, we went from 38% sensitivity to 68% sensitivity, which is more or less what has been already published a few months ago. And if we go in the literature, I just highlighted papers of the last 5 years with modern technology on MRI. As you can see here, the sensitivity is more or less in the range of 60%, which is, of course, not enough, because we know that even if a next generation imaging is negative on lymph nodes, MRI is negative for lymph nodes, a PSMA PET is negative, we cannot avoid a lymphadenectomy or a pelvic radiation therapy, because we know very well that even with next generation imaging, we're not able to pick up a metastasis as small as that one in the picture. So that's why our sensitivity is very low. Even PSMA PET, if you look in the OSPREY study, Overall, the sensitivity was in the range of 40%. But if you ever break down the result, the sensitivity was acceptable when lymph nodes were above 5 millimeters, 50 to 60%, but less when lymph node metastases were between 2 and 4 millimeters, 25%, and 0 for lymph nodes below 2 centimeters. So the size is extremely important. If we take a closer look to our preliminary data on metastases, you can see here that from 50% sensitivity with conventional imaging, we went up to 100%. We had histological confirmation or follow-up of 12 months. Our results are slightly different from those of the other group who published it. If we compare all the available literature, they all report a good sensitivity for metastases on whole body MRI, 90, 100%, with just one outlier saying 25%. And we were interested also to understand who benefits more from conventional imaging, from next generation imaging, because you know next generation imaging is expensive, time consuming, and resources are extremely limited. So we observed that the benefit in terms of upstaging were more in patients who had Gleason 4, Gleason grade 4 or 5, where the upstaging was 27% compared to just 8% for patients with Gleason grades between 1 and 3. And our results are more or less comparable to what has been published already for PSMA PET. Then I tried to model our data according to the low and high volume Chartier definition. And as you can see here on the left, we had 17 patients considered metastatic with conventional imaging. After we did whole body MRI, as you can see here, 12 were negative with whole body MRI. So with whole body MRI, we really increased our specificity. 11, you think, highlighted were low volume disease with bone scintigraphy and CT, no disease on whole body MRI. And our results are not a surprise. They are more or less similar to what has been published. There's a paper in January published comparing conventional imaging with PSMA PET. So the elephant in the room is that the false positive rate of conventional imaging at initial staging is too high. In our small population, which is very small, 17, was roughly 70%, comparable to prospective studies using PET and also to other retrospective studies where the false positive rate for initial staging is very high. Then we try to understand, given all this upstaging and downstaging, what is the actual therapeutic changes that were determined at our MDT after whole body MRI. We changed in our population the treatment in roughly 14% of cases overall. But then if we break down the results according to the Gleason grade, you can notice by yourself that the changes, therapeutic changes were more present in Gleason grades 4 and 5, 23%. So probably that is the target population for next generation imaging in our experience. And here are a few examples. This patient was staged N0 with conventional imaging. We saw that lymph node on the right common iliac, which was taken out, was a pathology, was M1A. So from pelvic lymphadenectomy to extended pelvic lymphadenectomy. Or this case was staged as M0 in the bone with conventional imaging. We did whole body MRI. We saw many of these small, tiny little metastases. The patient from radical prostatectomy went to hormone therapy plus radiation therapy. After 1 year of hormone therapy, lesions were gone, confirming that they were metastases. There are, of course, limitations and warnings from the guidelines, for example. EU guidelines do recognize that PSMA PET is very sensitive, also whole body MRI, but still we do not have data on survival benefit. There are trials running, the Avidity, Prisma PET, and so on, but they won't report before 5 years. So we cannot draw any meaningful conclusion today. ESMO guidelines say that recognize that the whole body MRI and PSMA PET are beautiful for intermediate and high risk because they're sensitive, but they warn us not to change a planned treatment just on the basis of next generation imaging. And ASCO guidelines say that you start with conventional imaging, as previously said. If it is a polymetastatic disease, no more additional imaging is needed because all the trials are on conventional imaging. But then if it is negative or equivocal, then there is a room for whole body MRI, for example. And also we propose whole body MRI, but we have to think how many MRI are available. So in Europe we are doing quite well, North America we're doing quite well. But if you take a look to Africa, Asia, Central America, there's a lack of MRI. And as you can see here, sadly resources are lacking where needed. They're lacking exactly in the country where we have the highest rate of prostate cancer. So my last slide as a take-home message, I would like to convince you that whole body MRI is easier than you think, because you can run, it's cheap technique, because you can run on existing scanner, better if you implement AI and acquisition, so your time is shorter. You do not need any contrast, so this is important. There's opportunity for a wider examination. The technique is established because we have guidelines that have been around for 8 years, and the AI can also address the last issues given in reading. We have some figures on upstaging and downstaging. Of course, we need more trials, and we have no data on the impact on overall survival. Thank you.